was born. Life begins and ends in the dust you form. Faith commanded and the mountains moved. Fear is losing ground to our hope in you. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Freedom conquered, all our chains undone. Sin defeated, Jesus has overcome. Mercy triumphed when the third day dawned. Darkness was denied when the storm was gone. Sing it out. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Sing nothing. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done.
Hello everyone, welcome to Quest, where this week we are continuing to talk about confidence and why it is so important for us. Confidence is learning to see yourself the way God sees you. So what are some things that you are confident in? Maybe it's playing a sport or playing an instrument. Maybe it's drawing beautiful pictures. Whatever it is that you are confident in, I want you to know that in a similar way, you can be confident that God loves you. God created you on purpose, and He thinks you're amazing. He thinks you're wonderfully made. He sees you as someone who can face any challenge. And you know what? When you learn to see yourself the way He sees you, you can live every day with confidence. And so let's take a moment to check out today's video as we learn more about confidence.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story. Inspired by the book of Joshua, chapters 5 and 6.
For 40 years, God's people wandered the desert. At last, they reached the land that God had promised them. Joshua led them to the edge of the rushing Jordan River.
The priests will carry the ark of the Lord.
The ark was a beautiful chest that reminded the Israelites that God was with them.
As soon as the priests step into the Jordan, it will stop flowing.
Sure enough, as soon as the foot of the first priest touched the edge of the river, the waters parted. God's people crossed on dry land, just as God had led them through the Red Sea 40 years before.
God did this so that all the nations on earth would know that He is powerful.
Soon after, the Amorites and Canaanites living in the land had heard what God had done. Fearful, they retreated back to their towns, including the high-walled city of Jericho.
Oh, great. Like, how do we fight them now?
God will show us the way.
That evening, Joshua left camp and snuck toward Jericho. The walls loomed impossibly strong.
So tall.
As he turned, Joshua saw a man standing nearby holding a sword.
Who are you? Are you on our side or the side of our enemies?
I have come as the commander of the Lord's army.
Joshua knelt down, face to the ground.
What message does my Lord have for me?
Take off your sandals. The place you are on is holy ground.
Joshua tugged off his shoes.
I have handed Jericho over to you.
Joshua listened carefully as the Lord delivered a message, a battle plan unlike any other.
Wow. Okay, we'll do it, Lord.
Joshua called for the priests.
Get the Ark of the Covenant, and I need 7 of you to march in front of the Ark with trumpets.
Sorry, just warming up.
Joshua gathered the army too.
Time to move out.
Like, do we get to attack now?
March around the city.
Just, like, go in circles?
Some of you march ahead of the Ark of the Lord, and the rest of you march behind.
Can we at least shout and stuff? Hey, Jericho, you guys smell like cheese!
Don't give a war cry or raise your voices until the day I tell you to shout. But the priests must blow their trumpets. Forward, march!
The entire army, including the priests, marched one time around Jericho, just as the Lord had instructed Joshua.
Now can we get them?
Back to camp, men. We march again tomorrow.
The next morning, the Israelites marched around the city once again. And then on day 3, once again on day 4, not to mention day 5, and once again on day 6.
We march again at sunrise.
I have blisters.
At dawn on the 7th day, the army and priests formed their strange parade once more. But this time, once they finished marching around the city one time, Joshua called out,
Keep marching!
Again? My feet are killing me.
The Lord has told me we must march around the city 7 times today.
On the 7th time around, the priests blew a long blast on their trumpets.
Now shout! The Lord has given you the city!
Yeah, it's smelling cheese!
As the shouts of the Israelites rang out in the clear morning air, something incredible happened. The massive walls of Jericho began to tremble. The gates shivered and quaked. Jagged cracks ran through the heavy stones. Rocks began to tumble from the tops of the walls. Little rocks, large stones, giant boulders, until at last the walls collapsed, crashing in on themselves. The ground quaked, and plumes of dust burst into the air. As the air cleared, the Israelites stared in amazement. The city of Jericho stood wide open.
Take the city!
With nothing standing in their way, the Israelites charged right in. That day, they completely defeated the city of Jericho. God was with Joshua, and he became well known everywhere in the land.
We can't always see how things will work out in God's plan. When the Israelites looked at the city of Jericho, all they could see was a wall, a really big one. They had to trust that God would do what he said he would do. It was the only way they could win and live in the land God had promised for them. And I'll take a moment to think about what it was probably like for Jesus' disciples when Jesus died on the cross. They didn't understand what God had planned. But everything, it made sense later, after Jesus came back to life and explained why everything needed to happen the way that it did. And that is so true in our lives because sometimes you can only see part of God's plan. And in those times you have to trust, obey, and have faith. And that's the hardest part, when you can't figure it all out. But still, keep following God and living his way. You can have confidence in him. You can trust that his plan is always best. I hope this week that you remember that God's plan is the best plan. And we will see you again here next week.